Hey, yo, what's the deal? That's your boy Tag from Pro Wrestling Tag. You know what I'm saying? As of this recording right now, as we speak, it is April 18th, April 11th, you know what I mean, 2025, 3:34 p.m. I just came back from work, so I am fucking exhausted. You know what I mean? Right now, I'm just cooking my food. You know what I mean? I'm doing my burgers and fries and my burgers, fries, and some wings and Pepsi. You know what I mean? And right now, like I said, I'm just chilling. You know, I'm doing this quick video for y'all, and let me not waste any time. So, I had said something about Chris Jericho a couple of days ago, and also the last few days on Twitter, that I honestly do not want to see Chris Jericho back in WWE. I don't. He offers nothing to WWE at this juncture. At this juncture of his career, he offers nothing to WWE. You know, at this juncture with this whole learning tree gimmick shit and stuff. Now, this was the Painmaker Chris Jericho. Yeah, I would say, you know what? Let's give it a go, right? But there were a couple of things that I read this morning that scared the fuck out of me. That we actually might see this motherfucker back in WWE, and it's something I don't want to see. So I read, and I'm gonna get to what Meltzer said, but I read, and I think this was from Fightful, that Chris Jericho's Ring of Honor run is over. Like, he's definitely not expected to come back to the company, and they have no creative plans for him at this point. You know, right now he's doing the Fozzy tour, and he can work Wednesdays. So when they need him for a surprise return, you know, that's when he's available, right? But Dave Meltzer says what I'm about to say, right? And, you know, I said no fucking thank you when he said this. This is what, you know, this is what Dave Meltzer says about Chris Jericho, right? I'm going to read this a little slow because sometimes I have a tendency of reading too fast and shit. So this is what Meltzer says, okay? I will say this. For Jericho, unless the money is greatly different and unless there is loyalty because he was on the ground floor of this, if I asked, all things being equal, I suggest him leaving. The reality is he's swimming upstream in AEW with a fan base that he can work here with, and he can help guys. But like with the Hardys, he can return to WWE and get at least a short-term gigantic reaction because there is nothing WWE fans like more than seeing a guy defect from AEW. Now, I get what Meltzer says. I get what he says. You know, and yes, this is not the same Chris Jericho that we've seen over the last 5 years. This is not the same Chris Jericho. This is a completely different version of Chris Jericho. This is not the list Chris Jericho anymore. This is not the Millennium Man Chris Jericho. You know, this is not the Painmaker Chris Jericho. This is not even the fucking New Japan version of Chris Jericho. This is a Chris Jericho that is so washed up that I would rather take 2018 Kurt Angle over what we're seeing right now with this version of Chris Jericho. You know, Chris Jericho is a guy who's done everything all for the business. He's done it all. You know what I mean? He's done it all. And, you know, to see him back in WWE, yes, even though I agree that, yes, he would get a hero's welcome and such, you know, what the fuck can he bring to WWE in 2025 and beyond? What the fuck can he offer? Huh? What the fuck can Chris Jericho, you know, contribute to WWE in 2025 and 26? Huh? You know, what are you going to have him feud with? Who? The Judgment Day? Huh? You're going to have him feud with fucking, not the Bloodline. Not the Bloodline. See, there's only a couple ways that this would work for Chris Jericho to come back to WWE. Okay? It's only a handful of ways, right? One of them is basically off the fucking table, and that's Kevin Owens, right? That's done, right? Another way, is, to come back as the Painmaker. Make him revive that gimmick, but, in a WWE version of it, right? Or if he really, really, really want to help out the younger talent, because that's another thing too with Chris Jericho. Like Chris Jericho does not like helping out talent. And then I'm hearing that, from people saying that, he should work backstage in AEW. For what? The man say he's not retiring. The man say he's not fucking retiring. The thing is, right, and let me go back to another way too. And I doubt all these would happen, but working at NXT, I don't know if him and Shawn Michaels has a great relationship and such, but if he really want to help the younger talent, go down to NXT and help put some of these guys over, And yes, I did make that video about 4 of the most important people in AEW are no longer had that aura. He was one of them, and Dean Ambrose, a.k.a. Jon Moxley, is one of them, who I'd rather see back in WWE more than Chris Jericho. But, see, the thing with Jon Moxley is Jon Moxley, again, just like Jericho, this is not the same Jon Moxley that we've seen when AEW first started. Jon Moxley kind of proved that he's not worth, that he's not the, the star that a lot of people made him out to be, if he comes back to WWE, and this is about Chris Jericho, but if Jon Moxley comes back to WWE, you know what? I wouldn't even close that door. The thing with Jon Moxley is I would see Jon Moxley come back to WWE, let him do all the shit that he does, but not to that level. Not to that fucking level, because WWE knows how to, create a clean product, right? They can prop it up and everything. He can do everything there, but also calls himself Dean Ambrose. Like, he can still be Jon Moxley and do all the Jon Moxley shit, but, just change the name. Chris Jericho, though, I don't want to see him back in WWE. I don't. If it's the Hall of Fame, all right, fine, he's deserving. He's deserving. But I got a scary feeling. I got a scary fucking feeling that he just might come back to WWE. And you know what? I have an even more scarier feeling that he actually, Meltzer might be fucking right. Meltzer, which I don't want to see, but Meltzer might be fucking right. Because if WWE is talking about bringing in Tessa fucking Blanchard for a run, after her TNA run is over, what the fuck make you think they won't bring Chris Jericho back? I don't know. This is something I don't want to fucking see, but I have a very weird feeling that it's probably going to happen. And you know what? I wouldn't be shocked if it happens. I don't want to fucking see it. Just like how I'm glad that WWE didn't sign Okada. You know what I mean? I don't want to fucking see it, but I think because it's AEW and someone defected from AEW, especially one of the OGs, because Chris Jericho is basically, surprisingly enough, I'm shocked that he's not an EVP. I'm shocked, because he was definitely one of the most important pieces of AEW, right? But I think because of, it's a big name from AEW coming back to WWE, that's probably why they're going to do it. But I don't see this motherfucker. I don't see them giving him the money, for that. I don't. I truly don't. Yeah, because Meltzer says something about loyalty and such. I don't know how loyal Tony Khan is to Chris Jericho. I don't know. I honestly don't know. He's not even worth the money now at AEW. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but I'm afraid. I am afraid that, yes, Chris Jericho actually might get that jump. And I'm even more afraid that WWE might be fucking interested. And that's something I don't want to see. I really do not want to see Chris Jericho on WWE television. Like I said, he offers nothing. He offers nothing to the product. He offers nothing to WWE at this juncture. Let me know what you guys think under the comment section. You know what I mean? And thank you guys so much for 53 subs. When I started this channel, I just wanted to talk about pro wrestling, give my thoughts and such, you know what I'm saying? But, even though it's 53 subs, I'm still grateful for it, you know what I mean? Because, I thank people for subbing to the channel. Because again, this is me, just me talking something about, talking about a sport that I've loved for many, many, many decades, you know what I mean? For like fucking 4 decades. You know what I mean? So I'm deeply appreciative of the subs and such. So definitely, let your friends know about the YouTube channel and stuff. And also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Know what I mean? So I'm going to holler at y'all. I will be coming with another video tonight. All right? Peace.